This episode is brought to you by Vuori. Give the active people in your life something they'll truly appreciate. Performance apparel from Vuori. Whether they're into running, surfing, hiking, or even just casual walks around the block, there's something for everyone. And if you're not sure what to gift them, you can't go wrong with something from Vuori's Dream Knit collection. It's the perfect gift and so comfortable. Get 20% off your first purchase today at Vuori, VUORI.com/Spotify.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a one-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
The Trailblazers are playing pretty well, but maybe too good for their own good. Injuries are starting to mount, so that might change how well they're playing. But what is going on with Anfernee Simons? We have all that and more here on the Blazer Focus podcast. I'm Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian and OregonLive, and he is Craig Birnbach, who in our pre-show talk was dissing my boy Ant, but that's okay. I'm going to straighten him out here pretty quickly. But first, before we get to Simons.
That's so wrong.
And we all know I'm unapologetically a Simons guy, and Craig likes Simons too, but he's going to hate today, but rightfully so. But anyway, let's start before we get to Simons and other things. Let's start with the injury situation. So this team's
I'm gonna take a nap. I'm gonna take a nap while you go.
This team's 7-11. They were 7-10 before getting smoked by Memphis again yesterday. You know, in 2 games against Memphis, they shot like 13% from 3-point range. It's like they're like 13 of 88 or something like that from 3-point range against them, which is unbelievable. But they played better this time than they did last time. They didn't turn the ball over a time.
That's like saying I'm the tallest in my family.
But in the 45-point loss, they looked like a junior college basketball team. Last night, they actually played decent basketball. They just couldn't make a shot. So that's sometimes the shot just isn't there. Anyway, so news today on Tuesday, Donovan Clingan, who sat out the loss to Memphis the other night after injuring his knee against Houston in the win at Houston, is going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. MRI shows a strained MCL, I believe it was. Yep. And then also their other backup center, Robert Williams III, concussion protocol. He left the game on Monday with a concussion. There's no timetable and those kind of things. They have to go through certain steps. I would say he's going to be out at least a few games. We'll see how that goes. Now, DeAndre Ayton has missed 7 games. So if he doesn't play tomorrow against Indiana, that means their top 3 centers will be gone, which means, and I texted Chauncey today and said, I'm good for 10 minutes. I can be in Indiana tomorrow if he needs me. He sent back, ha, with like 18 exclamation marks. So that meant no, I'm not going to get to play. But he's got to go with Dwight Reith or Jabari Walker. But there's a good shot that Ayton could return tomorrow. Also, Jeremy Grant tweaked his knee. He's listed as questionable for this game. Scoot, questionable, but like I said, possibly could come back. He injured his back in a car accident on Thursday when the Uber or Lyft he was in was rear-ended. He was about to come back from his quad injury, and then that happened. Who else? Chris Murray's questionable, but he's not severely injured.
He missed chest, and he missed the last game.
Right, he's out the last game of the sternum.
Sternum is your chest, just so you know.
No, I know. Except when you said chest, I was thinking more up here than sternum. I was like, wait, chest? Pectoral muscle? Anyway, but he's questionable. And Thibault now out. Right, 3 to 6 weeks with the ankle. He hasn't played a game yet, but I'm not sure how much they necessarily miss him. I mean, the guard rotation's been fine without him, I think. Anyway, so here's all I'm going to say about this. This is good. If you want to lose, well, here's the thing. If you want Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey or you want an impact star in the next draft, how you get there is when injuries start to mount, because this team has actually been playing pretty well. And on paper, they didn't look like a 20-win team with all the players that they had. They just didn't. They won 21 last year with a ton of injuries. So if they were going to be healthy this year, I thought they had a chance to win 30, but I had them at 25 or less because I believe injuries would hit, and that injuries might end up be elongated as we get closer and closer to the midway point of the season. But anyway, your thoughts on just real quickly on how they've been playing since the first Memphis debacle, and then what these injuries are going to mean moving forward. Because without Clingan and Williams, to me, they're going to be dead in the water in a lot of these games coming up.
Yeah, they feel like an all or nothing kind of team. Like, last podcast we were celebrating the greatest win in 2 years, and it was. And then they went and got crushed by Houston.
Greatest win in 2 years. Okay, anyway, we won't.
I'm just saying, like, since other than you talked about they haven't had a lot of wins in the last 2 years that matter. Looked terrible against Houston. Then they played great and won.
Right.
And then without guys, then more guys out, and they weren't in the same class with Memphis, and some guys look horrific. What I'll say is some of these injuries, I don't want to say they don't matter, but it's like Matisse, like you're like, yeah, whatever, because we kind of know who Matisse Thybulle is, and he's probably not a big part of this team's future. So you're like, okay, no biggie. But like Klingon, he just had a great game. And you're
19
like, no,
boards. I know, 19 boards.
No, I want to see that because he's not in great shape, right? And so you don't play for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You're going to have to get his breath back. And it just stinks because what we talked about in the beginning of the year was trying to get clarity. Injuries were going to be amongst that, but now with Scoot being benched and now injured, you don't get clarity there. Shaedon, injured, came back, had a bright spot, but inconsistent. There's no clarity there. Like when we want to know what's up with Ayton. Is he going to be a part of this future or not? No, he just missed a run of games. No clarity there. So the injuries that we're seeing right now this early, even Simons, out for a little while, it stops us from getting clarity. And it does, help the tank, which is the ultimate goal. But, and it makes it just, Klingon was a reason to watch, like it made it, he's fun, man. He tries so darn hard. He's in there growling and blocking shots with 1 inch off the ground. When a guy blocks 400 shots and can't win a jump ball against a guy 6'5", but just that energy and that oomph is nice. So to me, the injuries now they'll serve their purpose, which is your Cooper Flag run, but the who's getting hurt and when is not enjoyable if you're a Blazers fan. And if you're a part of the Blazers, I don't know where their future lies, like on the coaching staff or in the GM suite, but you want to see these guys that at least see Klingon play, Scoot play, Shaedon play, Simons play, Ayton play now, because you're supposed to tank later. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the very least, you like you said, you want to see certain guys play. You want to see certain guys play together. We want to see Ant, Scoot, Sharpe, Klingon, Tumani out there, not necessarily at the same time, but playing together in different rotations, different lineups and things like that. And you just want to see growth in certain areas, and you want to be consistent, like see players play together consistently. And we're starting to see, that we're not necessarily getting that with injuries or inconsistent play. I mean, Sharpe was hot for a second, and in his last 4 games, he's shooting like, I'm just guesstimating here, he's 35% from the field. That's awful. He's 1 for 6 from 3 the other night, and that loss to Memphis. Anfernee Simons, and we're going to get to him in a minute, is really playing poor basketball, the worst of his career, and it's not even close. So that's disconcerting, obviously. Scoot has had some moments, but again, not very good shooter. And then Klingon going down. But they've played pretty solid basketball. Like the fact that they were 7-10 at that, I didn't know if they were going to win 3 games out of the first 13. And out of the first 17, they had 7 victories. Now, 7 victories still had them 13th in the West, but it had them 22nd overall in the NBA. That's pushing you way out. That's making it a long shot to get in the top 3, right? But you kind of figure that there's going to be some losses coming unless they continue to gel and some of these guys who are struggling start to play better. So, I think at the end of the day, no matter how it goes down, you get into the top 3 and get elite talent in here, and the draft is more important than anything else because we still don't know. We can't identify anyone on this team yet that we can say, aha, that guy.
Yep.
Is a centerpiece of the future. we have seen inklings, right? We've seen bits and pieces, but not one person has stepped up and established themselves as that guy. And Ant, with injuries last year, he comes back this year and he's had a couple, minor things here and there, but dude, he's playing the worst basketball of his life. And it's befuddling to me. And so let's just jump to Ant right now. Okay. Cause I'm looking at the rundown and I'm thinking, Ant's the most important thing. So Ant is your centerpiece. Ant is your best player. Ant is a guy where you're saying at the very least, he's either going to become the lead guard, number one guy, and whatever happens with Scoot, or he's going to elevate his play and then we're going to trade him for something to get back. If you're the Blazers, you're saying this, right? But right now he is playing the worst basketball of his life. And part of it could be because he's trying to figure out what he is. But, Chauncey has said he wants Ant to be Ant. He wants Ant to score. And then off of that, play make. He doesn't want Ant to go out there looking to get 12 assists first. He wants Ant to go out there looking to get 25 or more points, and then the assists will come off of that. So he wants him to be a scorer first point guard, which is what he is. And he's not doing that at all. Now I shouldn't say at all, because they are 4-1 when he scores 24 points or more. They're now 1-9 when he scores 20 points or less. Some of that's coincidence, obviously, but clearly, as he goes, this team goes. Now, I think he's going to bust out of this at some point. I just think this is one of those things where he's just off to a slow start. He's been so much better than this his entire career. He's going to turn it around. But to me, right now, given the fact that he's either A, going to be your lead guard of the future, or A, be your lead guard of the future, or B, you're going to move him, he's giving you not nearly what you need at this point.
Yeah, I'm shocked really at this point, how bad he looks. And his shooting is, he's shooting
37.4% from the field.
And 29.6 from three.
Right.
This is a guy that
career 382 from three.
We thought this guy plays 30 minutes, he scores 20 points guaranteed. He plays 40 minutes, he scores 25. And now he just looks
15.5 per game, dude. 15.5.
You forget he's out there.
I know.
And you're being generous about being a score first point guard, because he does not look like a point guard in any way. He averages less than 4 assists a game. Scoot, say what you want about Scoot. He averages 5.2 assists a game in less minutes. And he's not making people better. He gives up the ball, quickly. They don't run the offense through him. He doesn't pick and roll well right now. You would think that with big clinging, you'd have some screens and he'd be hitting threes, but he is not. He had that one stretch against Houston. He was awful. And then he woke up and they won the game. Because he hit a great, just went off.
Yeah.
He had a huge, run and layup that we've seen him do before, and then hit a huge three. But I don't need this guy to be, Morant and dunking from all the time. But he's a slam dunk champion. He does not look like an athletic player out there this year. He just doesn't. We joke about Shaedon Sharpe. I'm like, he'll try to dunk over a 18-wheeler, he doesn't care. And he's aggressive. That is not what you're seeing from Simons. If you told people to go watch a game with the Blazers and say, pick out the slam dunk champ, they're not going to Ant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He just doesn't look like that. And so I'm wondering where he's at. Is this a head thing? Here's what you don't want. You don't want to trade away CJ and Damian Lillard with the thought that we got Anfernee Simons here, who's going to score 25 a game if we let him loose. And 2 years later be like, oh, he's worse. He's worse. Like his stock is not high. And I wonder from you, who's got a little bit more pulse on look at me like I've got any pulse on the hand, any finger on the pulse of the rest of the league. But what do you hear when, about evaluations from outside the Blazers? Because obviously the Blazers are always praising and the moves they made, other than drafting Scoot, which they said they had to do, were that they believed in him as I don't want to say franchise player, but potential all-star caliber player or right below.
Yeah, his floor is supposed to be a more athletic CJ. To me, that was the floor when they made all the decisions they made. And that's a really good player because CJ's a really good player. And you add really a little bit more athleticism to that, and you got a dude who's an impact player. He may not be an all-star, but he's an impact player. And that's what they expect him to be. And that's why he began the season as the lead guard. I mean, he's clearly better than Scoot. But right now, he's playing worse than Scoot did last year when Scoot's shine started to come off of him. And it's alarming. And he, the assist thing, I never expected him to be 8, 9, 10 assists necessarily. 5 to 6 is fine. Obviously 4 is unacceptable. 5 to 6 is fine as long as he's giving you 25 points. And that's who they want him to be. The assists will come off of him being a high end scorer. And he's averaging 15 points per game. And listen to his last few lines, 2 of 9, 1 of 2, he got hurt. The chest thing. And
one of those, by the way,
and we have to,
he hit like a 3 when they were down like 28 in the, late in the second half against Memphis. He didn't even, he was, I think at one point 0-8. I think he was 0 for 8.
You mean this last game? Yeah. The game. Yeah. So, and now he did have the health scare, right? So we're going to afford him some leeway there, working his way back from missing time. But the problem is he was just as bad before that. And so it's continuing. And so, I do think he's going to bust out of it. But that's an issue because you need someone to emerge, right? And Shaedon came out hot in the last 4 games. He's shooting 36%, 18 points still, but 2 assists, 3 rebounds, 36%. Like that's not impressive. So he has yet to establish himself as a guy who for, 30 games can be really good to dominant in 20 of them, right? And so there's no one on this team that you really can latch onto yet. It's still early, but clarity is what you want while you're losing.
Yep.
And the only thing I think that's kind of clear, maybe, is that this team is better off with Klingon and Robert Williams at center than Ayton, because Ayton is an offensive center first who wants the ball and wants to shoot mid-range shots, whereas the other two do not need to score at all. And they can go out there, and if you play them combined in 48 minutes, they're going to give you 18 points and 25 rebounds and 6 block shots. And if you get that from center with all these other guys who can score when they're on, you're fine. You don't need the center to score a lot of points, right?
Well, let's be honest. All you get 0 points and 19 rebounds and win.
You could get there, right? That could happen. That could happen too. Because you don't need that guy to score.
What you're doing on the defensive end is worth a lot of points.
Right, exactly. So that's the one thing I'll say is nice. And then the question is, okay, do you keep Robert Williams or do you trade him? To me, if that guy is healthy and looking really good, you trade him in a heartbeat. You cannot trust long-term. Are you really going to sign him to a long-term deal? If he plays well and is keepable, you got to give this guy $20 million a year, right? Are you going to do that over 4 years or 5? I wouldn't. How can you trust it? But if someone else is out there, it's like, we need that guy to help us with a title run. Here you go. He's got 2 years left on his deal, $12, $13 million somewhere in there. Give us a first round pick. We're good. And just go with it. You got to move him. I do not believe he's part of the long-term future here.
He's got 1 more year left on his contract. The Blazers did not draft him to play in 5 years.
Trade for him. You said draft.
I said draft him. Yeah. Yes, trade for him to play him to be on the team in 5 years when they're good. Right. When they got him, or 3 years. They're not. You can't.
No,
he's not. He's awesome. He's fun. His basketball IQ is off the charts. He's everything you want when he plays. But he's not 22, and he's not consistently healthy. So you have to. I mean, right now, like, you gave up Brogdon and 2 firsts to get Denny. Brogdon did not, when the thought was you get Brogdon and then you get a first. That didn't work. So you have Ayton and Williams now that from the Lillard trade, you've got to try to get something.
Yeah, you still have Tumani though, but yes.
And Tamani's been great. And let me just say, like, one thing I will say about Tamani is his defense is ridiculous. It's ridiculous at this level. Like, he's great to be your 4th best player now. Like, he can start if everyone else is good. Like, he's shooting better. He's still a bit of an offensive liability. He still gets silly fouls. Or maybe they're not silly. And maybe they're reputation fouls. Like, maybe eventually he doesn't get those because the league goes, oh, no, he's Tamari Kamana. He's a great defender. That guy, he didn't get fouled. He just stole it. Now you don't get that yet. But yeah, I mean, who doesn't love Rob Williams? But you got to trade him if you can. I mean, you just have to. So he's going to help you win games, and you don't want that. Like
there's that too,
right? That guy's going to help you win games,
right? So as far as clarity goes, Klingon looks like he's going to be solid. Robert Williams is playing great, but you got to move him. Tumani, huge get in that trade.
On the court.
Huge getting that trade, but the guys who are supposed to be potential star guys are just not, like, we have no clue. What they are yet. And that includes Ayton, because they're playing better without Ayton, and Ayton makes $34 million, and you're probably not going to get much for him. You might have to attach things to move him. Yeah. But, unless he comes back and reverses the trend, he just is what he is. So yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions, but I think that a lot of those unanswered questions mixed in with the fact that they've actually been playing good basketball, does that speak pretty well about the coach?
Yeah, I think that the thing about Chauncey is they listen, right? And they play hard. Again, I don't think the decision about whether Billups is a good coach or not we're not going to learn that. We're just not going to learn it.
I think we kind of learned it a little bit in pockets. Like, I think there's more evidence, these little pockets over his career. And I think this is one of them. Like, that Memphis game was horrible. The whole team played atrocious. To me, yep. I mean, fine, you want to blame the coach for part of that, you can, but the players are professionals. They need to show up and play. And then they had a meeting, they figured things out. And since then, they've been playing really good basketball, despite Sharpe being inconsistent, Ant being inconsistent, the $34 million center being out. You're playing a rookie a lot, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they've been finding ways to win games. I still can't believe they got one at Houston, let alone beat Minnesota twice. That to me was impressive. And they're doing it with a team that really can't shoot the three very well at all. And that's not on the coach. You can't make guys learn how to shoot the three, but they've been doing other things to try and to keep themselves in the games, and they pulled out wins I didn't think that they would get. And so to me, that's a credit to the coach.
I 100% agree with that. I'm just saying, when you're gonna end up at the end of the season with one of the worst records in NBA history, if not the worst record, after as many years.
Oh gosh, yeah.
As a head coach, I'm not going to know if he's a good coach. I mean, I don't think he's a terrible coach. I think he has potential to be a good coach. That's why they hired him. I just feel like judging him on the roster that he's been given is impossible. And there are plenty of coaches that can motivate to a certain level. And look, Terry Stotts was a really good coach. He got fired because they didn't go to the quote unquote next level. They didn't win a title. I mean, we've seen that time and time again about how do you evaluate a coach as being good, bad, and it's often the players, right? I mean, the players get you there. Steve Kerr, is he the greatest coach of my generation? Like, I don't know. He had Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, I don't know. I know he's not a bad coach. He's won an Olympic gold medal. He's won championships. So I think it's nobody can walk out of the end of his, whatever happens here at the end of the year. No one could say, no doubt, Chauncey Billups is a good coach. And nobody could say, no doubt, Chauncey Billups is a terrible coach. Right. You just can't. But I mean, it shows me something that when a team looks lost and he can motivate them to play better, play well above their potential, that there's a reason why Chauncey Billups is held in such high regard. I mean, that's good. I mean, a lot of times 45-point losses turn into 5-game losing streaks.
This is true.
And they didn't. And look, and they play hard, and he's not afraid to call anyone out. I mean, he's real, and obviously he knows basketball. But, I will say about Simons is I would be shocked if he doesn't, flip a switch. He's just too good. He's too good to play this bad. But it's not helpful to play this badly for this long of a stretch. You know what I mean? Like, it just isn't.
No.
But he's too good. And it just makes you worry a little bit. Why? Injuries? Is something wrong with his body? Because, again, he doesn't look explosive. He doesn't look great. He's not just missing shots. He's just not being, what he is, what we've seen. But
let's
you kind of hope that it's something, right? Physical that he's got to get over.
Yeah, I personally think
you don't want it in his head.
I personally think that some of it is adjusting to the role, and then the illness hit him, and so that's why I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt the past few games and just sort of see what happens. I think he'll be fine long term, but we'll see. Let me ask you this: we mentioned briefly Denny. Denny got moved to a bench role. He struggled in that role at first, but lately,
he's been playing better.
He's been playing really well. I mean, he's come off the bench, played some elite defense, and plays the Klingon against Houston. He had a couple blocks of Sagoon. The last 5 games, man, he's shooting well. He's giving you, about 16 and 8 off the bench and only 26 minutes or so, something like that. He's shooting better, like I said, and his 3-point shooting is really taking a huge jump after starting abysmally from long distance.
Yep.
You
still can't make a layup. I mean, it's shocking, but how many he misses that goes to the rim.
But it's one of those situations where he almost can't get back into the starting lineup because you have to take out Kamara to do that. And they're probably not going to do that. And they're not going to take Sharpe out.
Can if Grant's out, he's in.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm talking about people who are healthy, obviously, in the regular rotation. So this is almost a new normal for him. It may end up being the better role for him anyway, because if you're going to be committed to Kamara and Grant, which you're going to be, unless one of them is moved, and you're going to draft a forward in the draft, then Denny's future is either as a backup or, it's as a backup. I mean, it just is. There's no way around that if everything goes the way the franchise kind of hopes. And that's even if you traded Grant, because Kamara would be starting with the new young center, unless you come to the conclusion that Denny's better. But I don't know if Denny's better in that starting unit because of the elite defense that Kamara gives you. So basically, at the end of the day, if Denny's on this team long term, and by the time you start winning again, you traded a lot for a guy who's going to be a backup. But is that okay as long as he's giving you what he's giving you right now, which in the last, 5 games, man, listen to this, 45% from the field, 40% on threes, and averaging 14 points, 7.6 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 1.4 blocks per game. That's high quality performance from a guy coming off the bench for 27 minutes.
So I would say this. It's better for the franchise if he's the starter because he's excelling, because he's a really good defensive player, and Kamara's coming off the bench.
You think so?
Because that tells me that Denny is averaging 18, shooting, 46% and 39% from 3, playing elite defense, rebounding, because the guy rebounds, and he does play really good defense. But what he does for your offense with his speed and his ability to run can ignite the team. And then it doesn't mean Kamara's not playing 27 minutes a game, which is what it is. I just, to me, you traded 2 firsts and Brogdon for the guy. It's better if he's blowing it away and he's a starter. He's 23. He's younger. He's younger than Kamara, right?
Right.
So that's just my feeling. I mean, like right now, it's almost like, of course you put Kamara in there because he's pretty much been their best player. If at least on one side of the ball, but it's not like Denny's not a good. I mean, he's blocking shots. He's very good defensive player. You'd love for him to be the guy that comes in off the bench.
He's not picking up guards full court. He's not.
Right. But you know how, when you're good, you make decisions on defense later in games that are close. Sometimes you just try to outscore people in this league. It's a make or miss league. And Denny's 6'9", and can run like the wind, and you traded 2 firsts and Brogdon for him. You didn't do that for him to come off the bench. It's where it is now. It's only been 5 games.
But at some point, that just doesn't matter anymore. You also didn't draft Scoot to come off the bench at number 3.
Good.
But I'm saying that to me, right now, the trajectory of Kamara is that he's so good defensively, and he can knock down the wide open 3. He can guard multiple positions that you don't not start him, and that Denny's better at playing different roles in different spots coming off the bench and still getting 28 minutes than if you started him and you can't do the things to start a game that you do with Kamara. That's all I'm saying.
Right now. But even with everything you just said, Kamara is shooting, he's shooting 36%
on threes. 3. Right.
He's shooting 39.5% from 2. Like he's
43% from 2. He's 39% overall.
39% overall.
Right.
I'm just saying he's averaging 9 points, 2 assists. And he does offensively, he's not a non-factor, but he's still not what Denny can be, potentially. I mean, Denny's averaging more points a game than him. So you're talking about best case scenario, I believe. You're not talking about now. Now it's obvious. But, Denny's averaging almost 11 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, and 3 assists. Like that, that's more rebounds, more assists, and more points.
He's taking more. Okay, but he's shooting 38% from the field, only 28% on threes. I'm just saying that the defense Kamara gives you and the ability to defend at a high level, at least 3 positions, is more valuable in your starting lineup than Denny, because you're going to have other guys who can score.
I'm just going to ask you, if Denny's averaging 18, 9, and 4.
He's never done that. He's not going to do that.
But that's why you got him, right? Didn't you?
Is it?
I hope so. I hope you traded for a 23-year-old guy who was not far off from that in his life with that potential. Because if not, he averaged 15 a game last year. He averaged 14.7, 7.2, and 3.8.
On one of the worst teams in the league where he could just...
Yes, but...
Doesn't mean he's going to average 18 on a good team. They're going to draft a forward who's going to be the lead guy on the team.
So he did that in 30 minutes. Aaron.
Are you talking about last year?
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine. Great.
Isn't that why you traded him for potential? They told us he was getting better, right? Not worse.
Look, I'm just saying.
I'm saying in a perfect world, Denny has the ability to be, or you're crazy, because you wouldn't trade 2 firsts and Brogdon for Kamara right now, right? I mean, you wouldn't do that. You would not trade 2 firsts for a guy who averages 9 points a game for. I mean, he's good. He's not Gary Payton yet. He's not Rajon Rondo.
I'm just saying. We'll see.
In right now,
Who got
there's
benched?
no doubt.
Who got benched? Was it Kamara or was it Denny?
Right, he deserved to get benched.
Okay.
Couldn't make a layup or a three.
Okay.
He's terrible. You're just the one who gave me the stats of the last 5 games. They're good.
Yeah, he's picked up while coming off the bench.
I'm saying best case scenario is Denny breaks through the ceiling and does what they thought that he has potential to do, what they told us he had potential to do when they traded two number ones and Brogdon for him, which is a guy who played 30 minutes a game. You're like on a bad team. Well, guess what? He's on a bad team. Like he can average 18.
But we're talking about moving forward as they get better. That's what I said. As they get better, I don't think Denny is going to be a starter over Kamara because they're not going to need as much from Denny in the starting lineup as they can get from Kamara defensively, especially if they end up with a high-end forward who's going to take over as the number one, player on the team or number 2 with Sharpe. That's all I'm saying. We'll see. I mean,
I will say this. You get Cooper Flag. You have Cooper Flag and Shaedon Sharpe. That's fine. Danny can come off the bench, no doubt. I'm saying best case scenario with what they have right now is right now Kamara is better for the team. That's why he's not starting. That's why Danny's not starting. Mm-hmm. No doubt. I'm just saying you asked what the best case scenario is. The best case scenario is that he lives up to a top 10 pick, which he was. And he just took a little bit longer to develop into a guy that's 18, 9, and 5.
That's not happening.
Okay. I mean,
I don't think that's happening.
You didn't make the trade.
I think he's going to be an above average good role player. I don't think he's ever going to be like a top 10 pick star kind of guy. But we'll see. All right.
Can we get those 2 firsts back?
Hey, speaking of those firsts, have you been checking out the act of Jared McCain? Sorry. Who was taken 16th in that draft? He's playing for Philly.
Yeah, he claimed he's rookie of the year. Screamed it for everyone, right?
He was Duke, right? Yeah, Duke. 16.6 points, 3 assists, shooting 40% from 3-point range, 46% overall. That's in 24 minutes. He's only had 6 starts. In his last whatever games, this is just what cracks me up about the NBA, man. And I'm not blaming anyone. This isn't an indictment on anybody, but it's just hilarious to me that he was out of bad game the other night, 3 for 15, 2 of 11 on threes. So we'll count that. But in his last 9 games since playing more minutes, 34 minutes, dude is averaging 24 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds. He's not a point guard, shooting 46% from the field and 42%. He went 16th in a draft that was determined to be garbage. So that 16th pick was supposed to be like in the 20s. He is outplaying every guard on the Blazers roster and Denny as a scorer. He doesn't do much else. Then I'm not done. You know where I'm going with this next one, don't you? The 17th pick in the draft to the Lakers. Too old, right? People don't know he's too old. You want the 19-year-old guy with upside. You don't want the veteran guy who's shooting 51.5% from the field, 45% on threes. He's only playing 23 minutes, averaging 11 points, blah, blah, blah. Over his last several games, though, since he's been getting more minutes.
Can I just say this? The Lakers went 3-0 during a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
He shot 64%.
I'm looking at it right now. Here it is right here.
He shot 63% from 3 and averaged 20.
Dude, he shot 63% from the field, 61% from 3, averaged 22 points, 5 rebounds, no assists. He ain't passing. And that was in 34 minutes, and those are all starts. So those 2 guys were picked in the teens of an alleged bad draft. Yep. You could have had Connect. But you chose to trade that pick and another pick and Brogdon for a guy coming off your bench. So those are the scary things where, and it's early, right? For all we know, do you remember? You remember? You're a Yankee fan, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, so when you get to be our age, some of the examples you bring up, sometimes I bring up examples
You're not
of
going to bring
things.
up Brian Taylor, are you?
No, worse. Sometimes you bring up things and like most people around you are like, what the hell is he talking about, right? But you know what I'm talking about when I say Kevin Moss. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Kevin Moss.
Double A, baby. Kevin Moss.
1990 Leaf rookie card.
Don Bailey of the future,
Dude,
baby.
His 1990 Leaf rookie card went from 20 cents to $20 in a weekend. That guy was going to hit. He was going to break every home run record ever. And then, of course, he never, right? So who knows what's going to happen with any of these guys, right? Because every player in the NBA can have a stretch, right? We've seen it. But I'm just saying that when you see that, and you see what's happening with the Blazers and some of their, it's scary because you just are like, police say they didn't just blow it and getting a flamethrower like Dalton Connect, who's an adult at 24, who's coming in the league and he's draining shots while playing on a team that wants to win with LeBron and Anthony Davis. That's far more pressure on you than just jacking up shots for a team that wants to lose. So I just throwing it out there that, there's some scary things developing around, the NBA with some of the draft picks in that supposedly horrific draft. That all said, you got to add more talent. You got to finish the season right. And that's not in the play-in, which is right now. They're only 2 games out of the play-in, which is not where you want to be. So let's end this on this. What do you hope to see in the next week or so, considering that Klingen's out, Williams is probably going to be out for the whole week. And you got some other guys banged up. What are we looking for in these next few games before we talk again? What do you want to see?
I want Simons and Sharpe to each have a 30-point game
the same night.
I mean, I'm just saying,
the other night when they won at Houston, Grant, Simons, and Sharpe all had good games. That's what you need to see. 2 of those 3 need to ball out every night. 2 of the 3 need to ball out every night.
I just want to see. We didn't talk about Sharpe. I just don't understand it. Like, he's just so good. When he does things, you're like, "What? Why are you not just doing this more?"
Well, okay, so he had to adjust to Ann coming back, so that was a different dynamic for him.
I know, but don't adjust, man. Just
Ant's not doing point guard things like Scoot does, so it's a different dynamic in the offense, right? And here's the other thing I'll say too: and everyone has to remember this about Sharpe. This is his 3rd year, but he's really only played about 55, 60 games in which he was supposed to be a focal point of the team, one of them. Because his rookie year, he's a backup, right? He had a few spot starts here and there, and then the end of the year, the last 10 games, he played well, right? So that's only like 15, 16 games. Last year, he only played 32 games. That's 48 now. And then this year, he missed the first part of the season and then came back. So he's only played like 60 games where it's like, okay, you go out there and be you. And so I give him a lot of leeway for any type of, problems in terms of inconsistency.
I mean, that's very nice of you. I just think like he's too good. Guys with that kind of talent should score more. It's not like he wasn't playing basketball over the summer. Like he's only playing 50. He played basketball his whole life. Like he's been in the gym with them.
Like, no, come on. You can't say that. Come on. Playing AAU is not the same as playing NBA.
I can say that because Connect scored 30 points.
He's 24 years old. He's 24 years old. That's different than a 21-year-old.
But he's like playing with LeBron. He's like, I'm good. I'm going to score 30.
Playing 4 years of college basketball is different than not playing any college basketball. Come on.
I'm just saying, he has been in the NBA. He's been in practices. He's been around the team.
That doesn't count.
The Simons thing, I'll give you that because it's clearly made a difference, right? They have not figured it out enough. But I'm just saying, like, if Grant's out too, like these guys, you got to score 100, as I always say. So on this team, I usually say someone's going to get 20. Well, on this team, if you score 100, Simons and Sharpe have to score 20 plus because there's not enough points out there unless Denny goes off. That gets me his 30. I mean, there's just not enough scorers out there. I mean, we do know DB Hooper's going to come in and shoot, so he'll get points. But that's what you're asking. What I want those 2 guys to show me they're dominant scorers because they can be and they should be, and especially without these other options, just go. I mean, their coach tells them both. Tell Sharpe, just go. Like they back off, shoot. If they don't back off, go by them. Like this is the ability. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Both those guys to to score consistently, but I want big games from each one of them. I want 30 points from each one of them.
Agreed. We came into this season saying we want to see someone emerge as a legitimate building block for this team at a impact rate, not just, a role playing rate. And so far, nada. There's not one guy you can look at and say, that guy is that guy. And we're early in the season, not even 20 games in. But it's alarming to me that not one player has been like, Sharpe did it for a couple nights, and Ant has 4 or 5 nights, and Klingon, he's got some potential. But
Kamar's been the one consistent thing.
Yeah, but
Kamar's been the one,
right? But consistently as a role player.
Well, as a player that he's
still
what he's going to do.
Still a role player.
Yes,
we're looking for a star.
You're right.
Right. Did you see the stuff John Moran did the other night? 20 points in the first half.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's what we were told Scoot was. That's what we were told.
And we've seen Sharpe. We've seen Sharpe.
Have moments
a little bit.
Have moments, but again, can he do it for 20? Can we have a 30-game stretch from that guy when he's averaging 26, shooting 45 and 39? Can we? That's what you need to see. Then you're like, okay, now we've seen it, but we've never seen that because he's never been healthy enough. So that's all. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm with you.
If they end this season with everyone at the same levels where they are right now,
oh boy,
that's not good.
Not good.
That's not good.
It's not good.
Because now you still
honestly, if Sharpe averages 24 a game, 23 a game, plays 60 games, you're like, okay, we got one. At least we got one.
At least you got one. So
one of the 3.
And before we go, like for example, here's a good example. When Harden got out of Philly and Tyrese Maxey, right, became the focal point. That dude went out and shot 45 and 37, averaged 26, 6, and 4, and was most improved player. And was an all-star. Right? That's the kind of stuff you want to see. Someone do that. And you got guys on your team who are supposed to be able to do that, and none of them have done it yet. And Maxey was the 21st pick in the 2020 draft. 21st pick. So, anyway.
Honestly, to me, there's only 2 guys that could do that.
Sharpe and Ant.
That's it. I mean, Scoot would have to show me something.
Yeah, Scoot would have to take a huge jump out of nowhere, right?
Huge.
But, anyway.
I mean, Grant could do it maybe, but
Grant is what he is, man. Grant's a really good player. If he's your 4th,
not gonna get those rebounds.
Best guy, maybe 3rd with 2 elite stars, you got a chance. But anyway. Yeah, why are you going to bring up the rebound thing again? Okay, I was wrong about his rebounding development. It's my fault. I didn't realize that he was going to stick his nose in there and get rebounds. Whatever. I had hope. I was just being positive. That's all. Anyway.
Can I just say this? At one point in time, I could just see Fentress yelling at Grant. I lost an argument because of you. I said you were going to rebound, and you didn't.
I did get on him once in the locker room last year. He had 9 rebounds in 8 games, and I was on him about it. In the back of my mind, with your face making that face right now, but you're laughing. All right, that's it for the Blazer Focus podcast. We'll be back.
Happy Thanksgiving, big guy. Gotta say happy Thanksgiving.
All right.